The warden's verdict struck Edmund like a bolt of lightning. He couldn't wait to get into the secret passage that had been dug long ago. It was only to prevent prisoners from pretending to be dead. The warden burned the soles of his feet with a torch. After making sure he really had no reaction, the warden then declared the prisoner dead. He then ordered the prison guards to put the body into a body bag, wait until evening and then go back into the sea. However, everything they did was seen by Edmund, who was hiding in the secret passage. After the prison guards leave, Edmund climbed out of the passage. Seeing the priest who had given him wisdom, hope and courage die like this, his emotions collapsed instantly. They had originally planned to escape from prison together. Now he was left alone. He didn't know how to hold on to that unattainable dream. Edmund said his final goodbye to the priest in tears and was about to return to his cell. Suddenly, a thought emerged, bold to the point of madness.
Forgive me, Father.
He quickly dragged the priest's body back to his cell. Place carefully on the bed. Then he cut off his hair. Cover the old man's gray head to conceal it. Pretend to be asleep. Then put the bed back in place. He hurried back to the priest's cell. Dig out the treasure map that the priest hid in the hole in the wall. Finally, before the prison guard comes back, he successfully sewed himself into the body bag. Soon the two prison guards returned to the cell after dinner. They didn't notice anything unusual. The body was carried directly outside. As usual, they tied a heavy lead ball to the body's ankle. Make sure the body sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Then they struggled to climb the prison wall. The body was thrown into the vast ocean. The moment the body falls into the deep sea, Edmund quickly pulled out his hidden knife. Use all your strength to cut open the body bag. Then immediately cut the rope connected to the shot put on your foot. Swim hard towards the bright sea. At this time, the prison guards came to deliver meals as usual. Finding no response from Edmund, the guard simply opened the cell door and stepped inside. Only then did he discover with horror that the person lying on the bed was the old priest who should have been thrown into the sea.
God! Call the governor!
Wait until the warden hurried to the cell. Prying away the loose bricks revealed the two men's secret passage. Roaring and shouting,
Well, don't just stand there! Run! Serve the cannon! Muster the guards!
But it was too late. Edmund's extraordinary swimming ability helped him break free from the shackles of fate, cutting through the waves in the darkness. When he set foot on free land again, he is no longer the ignorant and naive sailor, but an avenger reborn in hell. 15 years of wrongful imprisonment polish his soul to be indestructible. He is now. He will return to the world as the Count of Monte Cristo. A storm of revenge swept across the entire Parisian social circle. And this is the most exciting revenge drama in the history of French literature. The Count of Monte Cristo. After escaping from prison, Edmund ran all the way to avoid the early warning pursuit. Until they arrived at a farmer's house. While no one is in the house, he slipped in quietly. He rummaged through the closet and pulled out a few worn-out garments. He couldn't wait to shed the prison uniform that symbolized humiliation and suffering. Just as he was frantically trying to tidy himself up, he was startled by the unfamiliar, weathered face staring back at him from the mirror. 15 years have passed. That young man who was once full of vigor and ambition. It has already changed beyond recognition. But he had no time to dwell on the past. The sound of farmers' footsteps could be heard outside the house. Edmund quickly stuffed his two remaining belongings into his pockets and fled. Relying on his vague memory, he came to a familiar yet unfamiliar neighborhood. I desperately want to know my father's whereabouts. He came to a man's door and asked. As a result, cruel fate dealt him another heavy blow.
He died many years ago.
When did he die?
5, 6 years ago.
Do you know where he's buried?
St. Augustine's.
Thank you.
Edmund suppressed his uneasiness and went to the church. The priest led him to the tombstone. Right here, he received another piece of bad news. His father died alone in 1825. No one gave a eulogy for him, because at that time everyone thought that Edmund had already died in prison for treason.
Shame, isn't it?
These words hit Edmund's heart like a bolt from the blue. A living person is considered dead by the whole world. His inner grief, confusion and helplessness were intertwined. Edmund returns to the home of his former fiancée Mercedes. But what greeted him was another heartbreaking news.
She married and moved to Paris.
Edmund froze in place. His mind was filled with those sweet memories of youth. Now it has shattered like a dream. He walked aimlessly on the street. Confusion and despair engulfed him like a tide. At this time, he saw a group of soldiers coming and hid quickly. At this time, he happened to encounter a guard chasing a fugitive. after knocking the fugitive to the ground. The guards beat and kicked him without mercy. See this scene in front of you. Without hesitation, he rushed forward and pushed the guard down. Then he vented all the humiliation and torture he had suffered over the past 15 years. But he didn't expect it. The fugitive he rescued will become his most loyal follower in his life. After helping Jacopo uncuff his hands, Edmund wanted to send him in the opposite direction. But who would have thought that Jacopo seemed to have set his heart on this big brother? No matter how Edmund drives him away, he followed closely behind me like a follower.
Get away from me! Hey, you! Go that way!
The two were arguing. Accidentally bumped into a team of patrol guards. They could only hide in a nearby carriage. They were secretly taken out of the city by the groom. In conversation, Edmund learns that Jacopo is involved in the brandy smuggling business and own a boat. Edmund immediately became interested. He needed a ship to go to Monte Cristo Island in search of the legendary treasure. After learning that Jacopo knew nothing about sailing, Edmund, who used to be a sailor, immediately said that he could drive the boat to take them home. Edmund setting sail on the sea. It seems like I have returned to that high-spirited young man.
Who are you?
I'm Sinbad the Sailor.
Next, Edmund coaxed and deceived his way to the island of Monte Cristo. After landing, Edmund lied that he was going hunting to fill his stomach. Jacopo and his nephew were left behind to guard the ship. He then climbed to the mountaintop alone. The priest once said that there was a rabbit-shaped rock where you could see the entire bay. From there, walk west 20 steps. It is the entrance to the treasure. But Edmund almost turned the entire mountain over. No trace of the treasure was found. A deep feeling of depression and powerlessness suddenly surged into my heart. Is it possible that all the hard work I've gone through to get here was just in vain?
Tell me!
Just as he was counting his steps again unwillingly. Hopefully the results this time will be a little different. Jacopo's voice suddenly sounded from behind.
What are you doing, man? You need a compass to catch a goat?
He thought Edmund was wasting his time here. The weather is so sunny now. They should sail home quickly. No way. After all, the boat belongs to someone else. And Jacob still has a gun in his hand. Edmund suppressed his reluctance and left with them. He looked back at the island repeatedly with a heart full of regret. Suddenly his eyes flickered. Aren't those two towering rocks the rabbit-shaped rocks in the treasure map?
Sinbad! What are you looking at?
Edmund didn't answer. He just quickly changed the subject.
When we get to Talamone, what happens to this boat?
We'll deliver it to my uncle. It belongs to him.
In order not to arouse Jacopo's suspicion, he quickly suppressed the ecstasy in his heart. Prepare to find an opportunity to come alone later. Return to Jacopo's home. The whole family warmly welcomed this lifesaver. Singing, dancing and laughing. But Edmund couldn't join in the joy. What came to mind was the day 15 years ago when he had been framed and imprisoned. That day was supposed to be his engagement ceremony with Mercedes. If there hadn't been that injustice, his and Mercedes' home should be as warm and beautiful as it is now. Thinking of this, Edmund tossed and turned all night long and couldn't sleep. Suddenly the priest's words rang in his ears again.
20 paces west of Rabbit Rock lies a concealed entrance, and you will find my treasure. Find it, Edmund. I bequeath it all to you.
A powerful belief in the unknown world drives Edmund on the journey to the treasure. He came to the island alone late at night. He quietly stole Jacopo's sailboat and set off again. After landing on Monte Cristo Island, under the guidance of the treasure map, first find the two towering Rabbit Rock pillars. Then he walked 20 steps west cautiously. Just as he turned his head, a startling sight suddenly appeared before his eyes. The hidden entrance described on the treasure map was plainly visible. It seems like it was arranged by fate. Edmund tried to suppress his excitement, struggling to move the boulder away. Then he couldn't wait to climb in. The space in the cave was very narrow at first and only one person could pass through. However, the further you go in, the more spacious the space becomes. And the legendary treasure that was rich enough to rival a country actually appeared before his eyes. At a glance, there are more than a dozen boxes of gold, silver, and jewelry of various sizes. Every box is dazzling, flashing with dazzling light. Edmund held up a handful of gold coins in disbelief. Let them slip through your fingers. The crisp and pleasant sound of metal collision is like the sound of nature. The corners of his mouth unconsciously curled up wildly.
God bless you, Abbey Farrier.
He suddenly burst into tears. All this finally gave him the power for revenge. And at this moment, a brand new identity has been quietly born in the darkness. The Count of Monte Cristo. He will come with a vengeful fury. Back to Marseille. He wants to uncover the truth about the conspiracy that happened back then. Judge all those who betrayed him. After Edmund secretly settled in Marseille. Sent a letter to Jacopo. The letter stated that he had purchased 2 large ships and 3 properties for Jacopo. In exchange, he hopes Jacopo can rush to Marseille to meet him before the end of the month. And told him to dress like a decent gentleman. When Jacopo saw the thick stack of cash, he smiled so hard that the corners of his mouth almost reached his ears. Soon he was wearing new clothes. Set off for Marseille in good order. Met the reborn Count of Monte Cristo. As soon as the two sat down, Jacopo curiously asked Edmund where the money came from. Edmund simply stated that he had inherited a considerable fortune. He suddenly changed the subject and looked serious. He recounted his experience of being wrongfully imprisoned for 15 years. He mentioned specifically, less than a year after being imprisoned, he was officially declared dead. This matter is full of strangeness. Now it is inconvenient for him to show up in public due to his special identity. He needs Jacopo to help him find out the truth.
And when I do, I'm going to punish those people responsible.
Jacob is a loyal man. He immediately went to the police station to help inquire about the situation. Unexpectedly, the prosecutor Villefort who put Edmund in prison has been promoted. He was no longer working there. And Jacob, who was illiterate, could not understand the contents of the file at all. Edmund had no choice but to take the risk. Step into the police station in person. After arriving at the archives room, he lied that he was a reporter for the Paris Journal. Wants to retrieve the records of a political prisoner named Edmond Dantes. The archivist knew who he was talking about as soon as he heard the name. He was rejected outright on the grounds that the prisoners were confidential. Edmund didn't insist after hearing this. He just casually said it.
And Monsieur Villefort was wrong.
Did you say Villefort?
Yes. He told me you would go out of your way to help me, but it seems he was mistaken. I'm sorry for wasting your time. I'm mine.
The administrator's face changed immediately when he heard the word Villefort. This former prosecutor has now been promoted to the powerful royal prosecutor of Paris. To curry favor with the powerful, he immediately sent the file to Edmund. Edmund suppressed his excitement. Find an excuse to get the administrator away. Can't wait to open the files. He was shocked when he saw the letter of complaint. It was an anonymous letter falsely accusing him of being a Napoleonicist. But what is strange is the stationery of this anonymous letter. From the Cadaris Tavern. Edmund and the tavern owner had no grudges against each other. It made him feel angry and confused. Why would this person, with whom I have never had any contact, frame me? In order to find the other party to ask clearly, Edmund exchanged the letter of complaint for the newspaper. Then after arriving at the door of the tavern, he told Jacopo to take a pistol with him. Then the two of them rushed in aggressively. But who would have thought that the owner of the tavern had already changed? Because the owner Cadaris sold it 4 years ago.
Where can I find him?
I believe he bought a small inn on the road to Pont du Gard.
So the two of them went straight to the inn. This can be seen from the quiet business at the door and the simple decoration inside. Cadaris hasn't had a good time these past few years. He didn't recognize that this noble guest was the former death row inmate Edmund. Unexpectedly, Edmund directly took out the letter of complaint. Let him think carefully about who he is after reading it. First read the report letter. Cadaris still looked confused and had no idea what was happening. Until Edmund blurted out his name word by word. His face suddenly turned pale and he turned around and tried to run away. But at this time Jacopo had already entered from the back door and blocked the retreat.
I beg you, please don't kill me.
Sit there.
Facing Edmund's questioning. He swears and beats his chest. This letter was definitely not written by myself. But he didn't dare to reveal the name of the person who wrote the letter. Because the other party threatened to kill him if he leaked the secret.
Well, if you don't tell me, I'll kill you. Or my friend here will.
Let's just kill him in a way.
Wait. Who?
There were 2 of them.
Narrated by Cadaris. Edmund finally figured out the truth of what happened that year. It turned out that there were 3 people who framed him in the whole thing. Danglars, the accountant who works on the same boat. Fernand, his childhood friend. And the prosecutor Villefort who delivered the final fatal blow. This story begins with Edmund's last sailing trip before he got engaged. The old captain at that time suddenly became terminally ill and was about to die. So before dying, he gave the captaincy to Edmund, the best sailor on the ship. Then he sent the accountant Danglars away. He asked Edmund to do something in a personal capacity. That is to deliver a secret letter to an important person in Paris. Kind-hearted Edmund never thought of it at all. This letter will cause him to fall into an endless abyss. Because the old captain didn't tell him. This is a letter from Napoleon to his accomplices in Paris asking for help. And in that era, delivering a letter for Napoleon was tantamount to espionage.
I will do with as much haste as I can muster, sir. To whom must it be delivered?
The secret conversation between the two was overheard by Danglars, who had ulterior motives. He has long been eyeing the position of captain. Naturally, he was quite dissatisfied with Edmund for being promoted by the old captain. Based on the fact that the old captain secretly met Napoleon during the voyage. He guessed that the origin of the letter must be extraordinary. When Edmund returned to his hometown, he immediately went to find his fiancée Mercedes. By chance he met Fernand, Mercedes' cousin. The other party just graduated from military school. Already made lieutenant. Edmund immediately offered his most heartfelt congratulations. But he didn't know it. In fact, Fernand has always been in love with his beautiful cousin Mercedes. I saw Edmund and his cousin being so sweet and getting married soon. He was furious. I just regret that Edmund didn't die at sea. So after venting his dissatisfaction to Danglars, the two villains who were equally envious and jealous of Edmund hit it off immediately. They immediately arrived at Cadaris' tavern. Together they wrote the letter of accusation that Edmund was working for Napoleon. And after receiving the report letter, Prosecutor Villefort immediately arrested Edmund. The simple Edmund had no idea that the old captain's letter was related to Napoleon. Just hand it over honestly. The intact seal on the letterhead was enough to prove that he knew nothing about the contents of the letter. After careful questioning, Villefort had originally confirmed that Edmund was innocent. But just when he was about to let Edmund leave, I asked another question.
To whom were you supposed to deliver this letter?
Monsieur Noirtier, Paris.
Villefort was suddenly shocked. Because Noirtier is his father. A die-hard loyal to Napoleon. If outsiders knew that his family was still in contact with Napoleon, his entire career will be ruined. So in order to cover up his father's crime, he used secret manipulation to put Edmund on death row in the Château d'If prison. And when Edmund's boss Morel came to inquire about the news, they lied that he had committed suicide out of fear of punishment after being imprisoned and died in prison. Edmund was very angry when he learned the truth. He loudly questioned Cadaris why he had not stopped their plot. As a result, he wasted 15 years in a dark and corrupt prison. But Cadaris told him sincerely, "I have been living in pain these years." Because he did try to stop it at that time. But he immediately received death threats from Fernand.
Do that, and I will cut out your heart and show it to you while it's still pumping.
In the end, he could only silently keep everything he knew to himself. He said it was to atone for his sins. Over the years, I have been helping to take care of Edmund's father. Then he took out the purse that the other person had used during his lifetime.
When it ran out, I would help him, bring him food, me and Monsieur Morel. He never got over the loss of you.
Dantes' anger eased a little. Then asked,
Danglars and Fernand.
Yes.
Danglars, I can understand. Fernand, it doesn't make any sense.
You don't know, do you?
Know what?
Fernand married Mercedes.
Edmund felt heartbroken when he heard these words. He staggered out of the inn. After suppressing his grief and anger, he returned to the tavern. He asked Cadaris if she would like to join his revenge team. This is to make up for the mistakes of the past.
You do not know how long I have lived under the shadow of this guilt. I will do anything you ask.
Sit.
After a deeper understanding, Edmund discovered that his three enemies were now doing well in Parisian high society. Fernand became count and married Mercedes. Danglars entered the banking industry and became a financial tycoon. Villefort was even promoted to become a royal prosecutor. But there was no fluctuation on Edmund's face. Because the one sitting here now is the Count of Monte Cristo, who is as rich as a country. He gave Cadaris 5,000 francs a month. It is to thank him for taking care of his father. It is also to investigate the current movements of the three enemies. However, before officially launching the revenge plan, Edmund first arranged for Jacopo to find the farmer's house that he had sneaked into after escaping from prison. They were given a large sum of money as compensation for taking away several of their suits. The farmer saw a thick wad of cash. Suddenly, tears of excitement filled my eyes. Because he had never seen so much money in his life. At the same time, Edmund's former employer, Morel, is on the verge of bankruptcy. Morel desperately pulled out a pistol and prepared to commit suicide. Just then Jacopo arrived. Handed Morel's daughter a purse. Asked her to pass it on to her father. The unsuspecting daughter broke into her father's office. This interrupted Morel's suicide attempt in time.
I was just about to put it somewhere safe.
This is for you.
Who?
Some stranger gave it to me on the wharf. Asked me to give it to you.
When Morel opened the purse and saw what was inside, his hands trembled so violently he could scarcely speak. Inside are receipts from all the creditors. Proof that the debt has been paid. Then at the bottom of the purse, the daughter also took out a huge diamond worth a fortune. This is the kickstart Edmund leaves for Mr. Morel to make a comeback. Besides being shocked, Morel looked at the familiar money bag in front of him. He immediately recognized that this was Edmund's engagement day. The betrothal money bag that I gave to the young couple. It is this betrothal gift. Later it became Edmund's father's life-saving money to make a living.
Papa, we are saved. We are saved.
For the benefactors who have helped me and my family, Edmund always repays every drop of kindness with 1,000 times. But now the kindness has been repaid. He could finally concentrate on his plan of revenge. In order to make the new identity of the Count of Monte Cristo appear naturally in front of his enemies, he needed a suitable opportunity to connect with them. Just then, Catullus heard a piece of news. Fernand and Mercedes have an 18-year-old son named Albert, currently traveling in Rome, Italy with friends. Edmund realized this was a good opportunity. He immediately set off for Rome with Jacopo, planning to create a chance encounter. After several days of secret surveillance, they soon found an opportunity to get close to each other. It was carnival time in Rome. Albert and his friends ran into many obstacles because they could not rent a carriage. Edmund acted decisively. Send Jacopo to invite them to lunch. At first, the two young men knew nothing about the mysterious Count. Just as they were about to politely decline, Jacopo added mysteriously, "The Count of Monte Cristo is a very powerful man. Can solve any problem." The two were immediately flattered. He agreed repeatedly. At the luncheon table, Edmund quietly creates the image of a mysterious, knowledgeable, and financially powerful man. He first catered to the audience's interests and told them his legendary story of how he made a fortune. The two young people, who were not very worldly wise, were so excited and fascinated by what they heard. Then he took advantage of their high spirits. He invited them to his room to watch the executions that were a characteristic feature of Roman festivals. Well, it's very interesting to witness a man facing death. And afterwards, you'd be more than welcome to the use of my clash for the carnival. The two were very happy when they heard that they could borrow a carriage. Unable to suppress their curiosity, the two young men came to the Earl's room to watch the ceremony. After waiting for the two prisoners to be escorted out, Edmund acted like a mysterious know-it-all. Introduced the braver prisoner to the two young men as Peppino, a thief. He was to be publicly beheaded. The one at the back who is so frightened that his legs go limp will be beaten to death with a sledgehammer. Accompanied by Edmund's detailed explanation. The first thief was soon put on the gallows. However, just as the executioner raised the guillotine high, but a soldier shouted, "Spare his life." A papal pardon was presented in public. Then the executioner opened the letter. Read aloud, "Pardon one of the prisoners.
By the supreme mercy of His Holiness Pope Gregory XVI, I order that grace be shown to the condemned man, Peppino."
The thief Peppino was released on the spot. Albert and his friends were even more shocked. The prisoner, whose life was hanging by a thread, was given a new life because of a piece of paper. They didn't know it at this time. All of this was just Edmund's carefully planned first performance. And the reason why he did this. Because this thief will play a crucial role in his subsequent revenge plan. Another criminal was not so lucky. His life ended only under the heavy hammer.
Why him?
After letting Albert feel the fear of death, Edmund laid out the second step of his chain plan. He prepared gorgeous clothes and carriages for the two of them. Encouraged them to have fun. Then a girl with outstanding appearance came in. Take the initiative to chat with Albert in the carriage. The hot-blooded young man was fascinated by her. But the girl flirted and ran away.
Delicious! Come to me! Come to me, please! I shower you with love. Give me a chance.
Follow me.
Young and impetuous Albert couldn't resist such temptation. He immediately leaped from the carriage and gave chase. Following the girl's footsteps, he weaved through the bustling crowd. His eyes never once left her form. Yet he remained utterly unaware. At that very moment, a masked stranger was silently trailing behind him. After turning into a secluded alley, the girl suddenly stopped. Then 2 masked men suddenly appeared. Knock Albert out directly. Drag him into the carriage. That night, Franz returned to the hotel after his outing. Suddenly, he was blocked by a man in black. Without saying a word, the other party handed over a ransom letter. Indicates that his friend Albert has fallen into his hands.
If you want your friend to see the sunrise tomorrow, you'll bring me the money.
Franz panicked, searching for valuables. But the money the 2 men carried was far from enough to pay the ransom. When there is no other way out, he held on to his last glimmer of hope. He ran to seek help from the Count of Monte Cristo, whom he had just met today.
Look at this. Go inside.
The innocent Franz never thought that Edmund had been waiting in the room for a long time. Edmund's expression was grim. Read the ransom note. After confirming that the handwriting was indeed written by Albert. Summon Jacopo immediately. Go straight to the designated location with guns and gunpowder.
Do you know who I am?
How the hell should I? I'm the Count of Monte Cristo, and the man you kidnapped is a friend of mine.
I'm sorry, sir. We didn't know.
Where is your leader?
The man in black was terrified when he heard the name of the Count of Monte Cristo. He quickly took them to the place where Albert was kidnapped as requested. When the boss learned that a distinguished guest was coming, he came out to greet him in person. He also bowed respectfully to the Earl. However, Edmund was full of aura. He started to curse the bandit leader.
The Viscount de Morcerf is a personal friend of mine, and you kidnap him? Hold him to ransom like a dog? Are you mad?
He is your friend?
Bring him to me. Now!
The Count shouted. The bandit leader was terrified. He immediately scolded his men loudly. Tell them to release Albert immediately. Then, while waiting, he apologized respectfully. The Count of Monte Cristo rescued Albert easily.
Albert! Thank God you're here.
Jacopo, take these gentlemen back to the carriage. I shall see you there anon.
Franz, who witnessed the whole process, was filled with admiration. As they walked, he described to Albert the Count's terrifyingly powerful strength. Little did they know that all this was a show carefully planned by Edmund. The purpose is to make Albert trust himself more. Thus, through his introduction, she entered the social circle of Parisian enemies. The bandit leader who cooperated with Edmund in the play was the biological brother of Peppino, the thief who was pardoned during the day. He has a close relationship with Edmund. Because once Edmund was traveling around, he used the Count's reputation to save an entire gang of bandits from a group of soldiers.
Why did he not betray us?
I have an aversion for authority.
It seems I am indebted to you, sir.
This time, it was to buy back his brother's life from the Pope. Edmund spent a lot of money.
How's my performance?
Theatrical, but effective.
Well done. Well done.
On the way back, Albert, who thought he had escaped death, was full of gratitude to the Count. She kept saying that she must do something for him.
Well, I was thinking of coming to Paris in a few months.
Well, that's perfect then. You don't know the city. I'll show you around. I'll introduce you to everyone. And to my parents.
We'll see. At this point, I'm still toying with the idea.
The plan went so smoothly. Edmund gave a barely perceptible smile. Not long after, he arrived in Paris as promised. To show the Earl's strong financial resources, he spent a fortune to buy 2 luxury houses in one go. He then accepted Albert's invitation. Prepare to visit the residence of your enemy, Count Fernand. This night, Edmund tossed and turned all night long. He knew that tomorrow he would face more than just his old enemies. And there is Mercedes, the woman he once loved so deeply but who is now the wife of his enemy. Those emotions that have been suppressed for a long time. At this moment, it quietly came to my mind. He waited in agony like this until dawn. The next day he arrived at Albert's house on time as invited. However, he learned that Fernand could not attend due to his official duties in the Senate. Albert enthusiastically introduced him to 2 important figures in Paris. M. Beauchamp, editor-in-chief of the Enquête newspaper. And M. Debray, secretary to the Minister of the Interior. Edmund was acutely aware of this. These 2 will be the key figures for him to enter the upper class of Paris and penetrate deep into the enemy's hinterland. But just when they started chatting, Albert's mother, Mercedes, hurried over. Her appearance made the atmosphere on the scene become subtle. seeing his long-lost lover again after all these years. Edmund was stunned for a moment.
I've been so looking forward to this moment.
And the moment Mercedes heard Edmund speak, her heart began to churn violently, although the man's face has changed drastically. But that familiar voice immediately reminded her of Edmund, whom she once loved deeply. They exchanged a few simple greetings. Mercedes's eyes were already filled with tears.
Mama? Are you all right?
Please, excuse me.
She hurriedly staggered away, making the excuse of feeling unwell. Wait until after the party. Mercedes watched the Count leave, lost in deep memories. At this time, Edmund in the carriage had already lost his vision due to tears. He could feel the years passing. The love between them had never faded. Now he bore a blood feud. There was no possibility of reuniting with his beloved. To advance the plan quickly, Edmund sent Catullus to continue to investigate the whereabouts of the three enemies. Soon I found out. There will be a grand performance at the Paris Opera tonight. At that time, his three enemies will be present with their families. This is a great opportunity to get close to them. So he immediately dressed up and rushed to the opera house. Prepare for a special meeting with your enemies. The theater was already full at this time. The box was filled with nobles and stars. Albert held up a telescope and searched the audience for familiar faces. Soon he was pleasantly surprised to find the Count of Monte Cristo in the box opposite. He hastened to introduce this new acquaintance to his father. However, after Fernand saw the box where the Count was sitting, but his eyes widened in shock. Because that was the box reserved exclusively for the Austrian ambassador. This special position cannot be bought with a little money. Edmund also saw the three enemies across the stage through the telescope. Now they are in high positions of power and have extraordinary style. They are no longer the same as the group of unscrupulous villains back then. Suddenly, anger surged in my chest. Even breathing became heavy. He hurried outside, trying hard to suppress the surging hatred, repeatedly reminding myself to stay calm and restrained. The more critical the moment, the more you cannot reveal any flaws. After the performance, Albert told his mother he wasn't feeling well, and had already gone home with his father. Albert took the initiative to introduce the Count of Monte Cristo to two of his father's old friends, banker M. Danglars and royal prosecutor M. Villefort. The two had a very good impression of this mysterious aristocrat with noble temperament and extraordinary conversation. There was no connection between him and the young man who was framed and imprisoned that year. Edmund found out through secret investigation. An unbreakable community of interests has long been formed between the three enemies. Danglars' daughter is betrothed to Fernand's son. Danglars' wife Hermine was Villefort's lover when he was young. If you want to destroy them, this triangular alliance must be broken up first. Think of this. Edmund already has a breakthrough against the two of them.
One of these days I intend on paying you a visit to open an account, depositing a fairly large sum.
How large?
4 million francs. Is it too little?
Hardly.
Edmund knew that people like him were greedy and ungrateful. Money is the best weapon. As for Villefort, he already had a piece of shocking black material that was enough to ruin his reputation. During the days when Hermine and Villefort were secretly carrying on behind closed doors, in a country villa belonging to Villefort's former in-laws, she had given birth to an illegitimate child through great hardship. In order to preserve his career reputation, Villefort actually put the infant into the box, buried in the villa garden with his own hands. Fortunately, the midwife at the time witnessed everything secretly. After Villefort left, the child was secretly dug out and rescued. This top-secret past was unearthed by Catullus not long ago.
Well, it seems that she did something rather foolish. She went to Villefort, to try and blackmail him. Either way, she was promptly arrested and committed to a lunatic asylum.
Upon hearing this, Edmund instantly realized the house and the baby boy. It will become important evidence for him to bring down Villefort. After learning that the villa was for sale, he immediately sent Catullus to Paris to buy it. Then, after successfully breaking into the enemy's social circle, he invited his friends to visit his new house as an excuse. The two parties were invited to this suburban villa full of stories. When Villefort first visited, he didn't notice anything was wrong. Looking at this place he had visited countless times before, he repeatedly lamented the wonderful fate between himself and the Count of Monte Cristo.
You've transformed the place considerably.
Thank you. Please, after you.
But soon he couldn't laugh anymore. Because it was during the lunch reception, Edmund pretended to casually mention that a terrible story happened in this house. Then, after successfully arousing the curiosity of the guests present, he took everyone into the old room where the baby boy was born.
I decided to leave this room exactly as I found it.
They say a terrible crime was committed here.
He did this in front of a group of Parisian upper-class people. He told the story of that dirty and sinful past. Although he did not say Villefort's name. But at this time Villefort's face turned pale. Hermine, the mother of the baby boy, had a vague look in her eyes, which showed her guilty conscience. Edmund then took the guests to the location where the box was buried. Another bombshell was dropped on Villefort. The box was buried right here. My gardeners unearthed it and showed it to me. But, it was empty.
Where is this box now?
I had it burned.
Hearing this, Danglars' wife Hermine could no longer bear it. He quickly found an excuse and left in a hurry. Realizing that his child might still be alive. She didn't care about the occasion. She began to wipe away tears in secret. This made Villefort uneasy. He was afraid that she would reveal their ugly affair in a fit of impulse. So he quickly found an opportunity to come before Hermine. Remind her not to reveal any flaws.
We need to talk.
Not here.
Little did they know that at this moment an old acquaintance was silently observing them upstairs. It turned out to be the day before. Edmond sent Catullus and Jacopo to the asylum. Rescued the midwife who was imprisoned by Villefort. Revisit the old place again. The events of that year are still vivid in her mind. See Villefort and Hermine in the distance. She recognized them at a glance as the baby boy's biological parents. With this key eyewitness. The next step is to find the baby boy. Villefort would be completely convicted of murdering his illegitimate child. At the same time, Edmund's revenge plan against the other two enemies is also quietly progressing. That day he walked into Danglars' bank with great dignity. As soon as he opened his mouth, he expressed his intention to deposit 10 million francs in a generous manner. This astonishing number made Danglars' eyes widen. Greed showed on his face. But then Edmond changed the subject. He claimed that he wanted to advance 300,000 yuan in cash immediately for daily expenses. Danglars was instantly troubled when he heard this. Because what Edmond deposited was not cash but bonds. He needs to spend a lot of time to verify. Seeing this, Edmond pretended to be unhappy and stood up, pretending to switch to another industry.
No, wait. Leave the securities with me, and I'll have the 300,000 francs delivered to you by this afternoon.
To my townhouse, the Champs-Élysées, number 30.
Edmond nodded and smiled. He knew very well that guys like Danglars were profit-driven and cautious. You have to lure them in slowly and gradually let down their guard. Therefore, today's temptation is just the smallest step in the plan. Just as he was returning home after finishing his banking business. Jacopo on the other side has brought in a key figure. This is a girl named Haiti. She is the only daughter of Ali Pasha, a former Ottoman general. Her father was Fernand's boss. Fernand accepted bribes from hostile forces for gold, silver, and power. Betrayed Ali Pasha to the enemy, leading to his death in battle. Fernand then took advantage of the chaos to seize all his property. Even more vicious is. He sold Ali Pasha's daughter Haiti to the Sultan as a slave. It was Edmond who redeemed her from the slave owner. And this girl will give Fernand a fatal blow at the critical moment. At this time, Fernand, who was completely unaware of the situation, was feeling complacent about his son Albert's marriage. After learning from Albert that the Count of Monte Cristo had deposited 10 million francs in the Danglars bank. He was even more high-spirited. He boasted to everyone that his son was about to marry the richest girl in Paris. Mercedes gave a reminder. That's not Danglars' money, Fernand. Don't be naive. But Fernand wouldn't listen. Instead, he proudly revealed a secret that was fatal. He said Danglars' wife was having an affair with Lucien, the interior minister's secretary. Danglars used this relationship to obtain insider information. Misappropriating client funds for stock speculation. This operation is a sure win. But once the truth is revealed, he will definitely spend the rest of his life in jail. Albert was horrified when he heard this. He reminded his father that such matters should be discussed at home. Don't spread it. Yet they didn't notice at all. The maid standing nearby had long since pricked up her ears, listening with rapt attention. And this maid had been having an affair with Catullus for a long time. After a passionate moment between the two, the maid immediately told Catullus the gossip she had heard in vivid detail. Not long after, this secret gossip was passed to Edmund's ears in vivid detail. He immediately decided to use a trick to create a financial crisis. Edmund changed into a passerby and came to the telegraph tower. He asked the staff for water on the pretext of being thirsty. While the other party is away, he quickly and secretly drugged her. Soon the staff member collapsed in dizziness. Edmund quickly sneaked into the operation room. A fake news story was fabricated about civil unrest in Spain causing stock market crash. After confirming that the telegraph station not far away received the signal and began to transmit the message. Edmund fed the staff the antidote again. He lied that he fainted from heatstroke. The whole process was done in one go without any mistakes. Not long after, this false news reached Lucien. He rushed to Danglars' house to report the news in a panic. Let them sell their Spanish securities immediately. Because I just received a telegram. There were riots in Spain. The stock price is about to plummet. Danglars turned pale with fear when he heard this.
Take my buggy. It's outside. Hurry, Baron. The stock exchange closes in an hour.
At Lucien's urging, Danglars rushed to the exchange as soon as possible. Sold all his Spanish securities. The deal cost him 1 million francs. But he secretly thanked himself for taking action in time. They firmly believe that shareholders who do not have inside information will lose more. At this time he happened to meet the Count of Monte Cristo at the stock exchange. He quickly pretended to be kind and asked him if he had any Spanish securities.
Yes, still do.
Surely you should sell. You must have heard the news by now.
I've decided to hang on to them. Did you have any yourself?
Oh, I did until yesterday. 6 million worth. Sold a lot of them. In the nick of time, I'd say.
Seeing that the Count of Monte Cristo was unmoved, he refused to sell even a single share. He instantly developed a sense of superiority about his own wisdom and bravery. Even secretly mocked him behind his back.
How stupid of him not to sell.
However, news soon emerged that the government had misdelivered the telegram. Danglars, who was the first to sell his stocks, became the laughing stock of all Paris. He went to Lucien in anger. He immediately asked him to compensate for half of his losses.
And I am down 1 million francs because of you. I expect you to repay me half that amount.
No.
If you do not, I will put a stop to a little dalliance with my wife. You understand?
Seeing that Danglars, who values money like his life, started to take desperate measures, Edmund thought it was time to add fuel to the fire. He immediately sent Jacob to Rome. Secretly invite the bandit leader Vampa. He was planning to have him come out of retirement and collaborate with him in putting on a good show in Paris. A few days later, Edmund hosted a grand dinner. Invite all 3 enemies. He solemnly introduced a mysterious guest. Count Spada from Rome. As soon as I heard the name Spada, Danglars, blinded by money, instantly became interested. Because in the social circle of European aristocrats, Bishop Spada, who is as wealthy as a country, is known to everyone. It is said to be 300 years ago. The famous Spada family wanted to prevent the Pope from plundering. Hid their vast wealth somewhere. Once these treasures see the light of day, then their descendants will be the richest in the world. To confirm the authenticity of the rumors, Danglars could not wait to ask if the distinguished guest was related to the late Bishop Spada.
He was my great-uncle.
Oh. Legend has it he was a very wealthy man.
Danglars couldn't hide his greedy look after receiving a positive answer. He immediately asked excitedly about the secret of the Spada family treasure. See, the fish has taken the bait. Count Spada gave Edmund a secret look. Then he spoke without hesitation about how he accidentally discovered his great-uncle's treasure map a few months ago.
When I was clearing out Count Spada's library, I found a piece of parchment. There's nothing on it. Not interesting. I threw it in the fire.
Thinking nothing of it, I tossed it into the fireplace.
And?
And as the flames licked at it, miraculously words began to appear and a drawing.
So I snatched it back.
Naturally, I snatched it out of the flames. And it was a map.
And it had been written on in invisible ink.
Drawn with invisible ink that reacted only to heat.
After listening to it, Danglars questioned the authenticity of Spada's description of the treasure map. Because until now those who study the history of European wealth and treasure have not found this fortune. Then Spada said,
The map led me to the exact location of Caesar Spada's treasure hidden in the year 1502. And as the sole heir of the Spada estate, I was allowed to keep it.
His words made Danglars' heart beat faster. He was already scheming how to climb his way up to this top-tier tycoon. Little did he know that this was exactly the trap set for him by Edmund. Because the so-called Count Spada was actually Vampa, a bandit leader from Rome. And the process of discovering the treasure map as described by Vampa. Edmund heard it from his deceased cellmate, Father Faria. This learned old man once held an important position in the Roman Curia. After meeting Edmund in prison, he not only put his life's learning, knowledge including art, science, chemistry, history, and even toxicology was taught to Edmund. He also shared with Edmund the secret of Cardinal Spada hiding a large amount of treasure on the island of Monte Cristo without reservation. The priest spent many years trying to decipher the secret of the treasure map on the parchment. Before his death, he gave this precious treasure map to Edmund. And now this secret and bizarre story will become an important part of Edmund's revenge plan. Danglars heard the legend of Spada. He could no longer conceal the greed in his heart. Edmund saw this. He took advantage of the situation and played hard to get. He used the excuse that money is not discussed at the dinner table. Forcibly interrupt the topic. Danglars was hesitant to speak and felt itchy. Before the dinner ended, he still asked a key question.
What brings you to Paris?
I'm here to find a wife.
This sentence immediately ignited the minds of the money-loving couple. They just happened to have a daughter who was about to get married. Despite being engaged to Fernand's son Albert. But the mysterious and wealthy Count Spada in front of him is undoubtedly more attractive. The couple looked at each other tacitly.
You're thinking what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Might be a bit awkward.
Sure, we'll find a way.
Sure enough, the next day Danglars couldn't wait to visit again. He took the initiative to raise the interest rate on the Earl's huge deposit by 1 percentage point. To show his favor to the Count. Edmund pretended not to understand. He just enthusiastically opened a bottle of fine red wine and asked him to taste it. Unexpectedly, Danglars was so impatient that he couldn't wait to talk about Spada's property as soon as he sat down.
So, I did some calculations on the estimated contents of the Spada treasure. And its value exceeds 650 million francs in today's terms.
Oh, good heavens.
That's what I thought.
Danglars then changed the subject. He began to ask indirectly what kind of women Count Spada liked. And he keeps hinting that his daughter has no feelings for Fernand's son. Edmund didn't reveal his thoughts. Instead, he revealed it along with his topic. It is said that Spada loves opera. Danglars was ecstatic after hearing this. He immediately realized the perfect opportunity to promote his daughter had arrived. His daughter Eugenie studied music from a young age. So that afternoon, Danglars took Eugenie straight to the cafe that Spada often went to. A carefully planned encounter occurred. He first enthusiastically introduced his daughter to Spada. Then he walked quickly towards the performance area of the cafe. The pianist was rudely asked to leave. He also forced his daughter's music teacher to sit in his seat. He insisted that his daughter sing a song in public.
Those two young ladies, they see a piano and they are drawn to it.
Like a magnet.
Sid, join us, please.
And Spada was quite cooperative. He immediately showed an intoxicated expression and quietly admired it. Danglars saw that he was very pleased with his daughter. He immediately took advantage of the opportunity to win him over to join his railway investment project. Unexpectedly, he was interrupted immediately by Spada without mercy.
Baron, you are disturbing my listening.
Helplessly, he could only hold back what he wanted to say. At this point, the preparations for Edmund's revenge are finally complete. The next day, he brought Spada to the Danglars' home upon invitation. Prepare to formally discuss investment plans. Danglars, who has an accounting background, is indeed very capable in this area. Whether it is a planning blueprint or an income forecast, everything is prepared properly. But their negotiations haven't started yet. Spada was attracted by the moving singing coming from the house. He immediately requested a visit to Danglars' daughter Eugenie. The task of discussing the project was fully handed over to Edmund. This request was exactly what Danglars wanted. She immediately took it happily to her daughter's room. Then he generously told him that he could just push the door open and go in. Then he turned and walked away. But unexpectedly, Spada saw his deliberate arrangement. A scene of Eugenie and her music teacher cuddling together. It turns out that Eugenie and the music teacher are a perfect match. Spada was surprised to see this. He immediately promised to keep it secret. Then after closing the door for them with great care, he continued to enjoy the performance as if nothing had happened. Because he instantly realized that this unexpected discovery would add a significant weight to Edmund's revenge plan. At this time, Danglars outside was having a pleasant exchange. He also negotiated terms of cooperation with the Count of Monte Cristo. He promised to betroth his daughter Eugenie to Count Spada. In exchange for this, Edmund and Spada each invested 5 million francs. Just then, Fernand's son Albert comes to pick up Eugenie for a date. As a result, he was unexpectedly ruthlessly driven away by his future father-in-law.
I don't understand. Have I offended anyone in any way?
Eugenia doesn't want to be disturbed today.
Edmund, who was standing by, saw this wonderful scene. immediately decided to fan the flames a bit more. He carefully planned to meet Fernand by chance. During the conversation, he mentioned the marriages of the two families' children. He also pretended to be confused and hinted that Danglars seemed to be thinking of breaking off the engagement. Fernand was furious. He stormed into Danglars' bank angrily and confronted him face to face.
I think the time has come for us to finalize a marriage contract between Albert and your daughter Eugenia.
Why such haste?
Why wait is more the question. Marriage has long been decided.
Well, that was then. But this is now.
What are you saying, Danglars? I don't follow you.
As expected, Danglars was evasive and his eyes were shifty. His words and deeds all showed that he wanted to postpone the engagement. Fernand is not so good-tempered. He immediately slammed the table and broke up with him. She threatened him sternly if he didn't set a wedding date immediately. You are responsible for the consequences. After saying that, he slammed the door and left. This made Danglars feel a little pressure. After all, it is never a wise move to piss off a senator. He quickly went to Edmond to discuss how to get rid of this troublesome relative. Edmond pretended to be thoughtful.
Wasn't there a French officer named Mondego mixed up in that ugly affair in Algiers? The one in which Ali Pasha was killed.
That was years ago, but yes, I do recall some talk about it at the time.
Yeah. Ali Pasha was very favourably looked upon by the French nobility.
Yeah, he was a staunch ally of ours.
Indeed. Perhaps you should look into it.
He deliberately brought up an old incident involving Fernand betraying Ali Pasha. The tone is vague, but it was enough to lead Danglars to investigate in that direction. Next up is a dog-eat-dog show. However, while he was busy trying to sow discord between Fernand and Danglars. On the other hand, the revenge plan against Prosecutor Villefort encountered a small accident. It turns out that ever since Edmond told the story of the infanticide case at the dinner party, Villefort began to doubt the mysterious, the Count of Monte Cristo. I just received the news the day before. It was learned that the midwife escaped from the mental hospital. As a result, the next day the Count told the story of burying the baby in public. All these coincidences made him suspect that the Count of Monte Cristo might have other purposes in approaching him. So he bribed a police officer. He was asked to monitor Edmond and his residence on a daily basis. Not long after, 2 police officers on surveillance spotted Cadaris walking into Edmond's house. Edmond saw what was happening outside from the window. He instantly realized that these 2 people were most likely sent by Villefort. He knew once they launched an investigation into Cadaris, that situation will be very disadvantageous to oneself. So in order to complete his revenge plan before his identity was exposed, he immediately asked Cadaris to speed up the search for the illegitimate child buried by Villefort. At the same time, remind him not to come to his residence again in the future. Something was communicated through Jacob.
So, Jacopo will accompany you home and make sure you aren't followed. Jacopo will act as our go-between from now on. He will not come here again.
But just as Villefort was keeping a close eye on the foreign enemies, but he was completely unaware that his wife was about to cause trouble at home. It turned out to be after the dinner a few days ago. Haiti once told the Count a detail. Villefort's wife left the party midway through, sneaking into his chemistry lab. This made Edmond very alert. Go check it out immediately. Sure enough, they discovered that the bottle of deadly poison had disappeared.
Should I have stopped her?
It's fine. I think she's just fascinated by all this, that's all. No harm done. Thank you.
Edmond was keenly aware of the poison. It will cause a stir in Villefort's home. The woman who stole the medicine. It was Villefort's second wife. She coveted the huge inheritance from her husband's ex-mother-in-law. It's just that since Villefort's ex-wife died, the sole heir to the estate was Valentine, Villefort's daughter from his previous marriage. In order to seize the property from Valentine, the cruel and ruthless stepmother was preparing to deal a cruel blow to the grandfather and grandson. After dinner that day, Valentine was carrying a pot of tea and preparing to take it to Grandma's room. Suddenly her stepmother came out and called her. After confirming that this pot of tea was for Grandma, the stepmother lied that Valentine's grandfather wanted to see her for something. Valentine is innocent and defenseless by nature. She left the teapot on the table and turned to go upstairs. Seeing this, the stepmother secretly opened the teapot. Quickly add a few drops of poison. Valentine, who was completely unaware of the situation, then personally delivered the pot of poisoned tea to his grandmother's room. The relationship between the grandparents and grandchildren is very good. Valentine even said goodnight to his grandmother before going to bed. Unexpectedly, the next morning, her grandmother, who loved her the most, was found dead in bed. The doctor said the deceased suffered great pain before his death. Then I noticed the tea bowl in my grandmother's hand. After smelling the teapot, he asked Valentine to help get some candy.
What is it, Doctor?
Who prepared this tea?
Valentine.
Who delivered it to the Marchioness?
Valentine did. I offered to, but she insisted on doing it herself.
The stepmother's answer successfully attracted Villefort's attention. He began to secretly doubt his kind-hearted biological daughter. At this time, the doctor put a spoonful of sugar into the teapot. Suddenly a lot of white foam appeared. He immediately announced that his grandmother had died of strychnine poisoning. The poison came from the tea that Valentine brought. Valentine stood there in shock after hearing this. She hadn't realized the teapot had been tampered with. So the prosecutor Villefort, who claimed to be fair and honest, called the police himself, sending his innocent daughter to prison. He was in such a heavy mood that he didn't notice that his wife with ulterior motives was smiling triumphantly. Although this tragedy was not directly caused by Edmund, but it also became a part of the attack on Villefort and his own revenge plan. It is also quietly unfolding on the other end. Thanks to Catullus for tracking it down, they finally found the illegitimate son abandoned by Villefort under the overpass, the prosecutor's own flesh and blood. But he became a dirty thief wandering around. Edmund planned to send the illegitimate child to Villefort. His ugly act of abandoning his own children was exposed in court. Follow his instructions. Catullus took the child home. He deliberately patted his coat pocket during the conversation. It implies that there is money hidden on the body. Sure enough, the child, who was addicted to stealing, secretly wrote down this information. At night, Catullus turned off the lights and went to bed. He quietly got up from the sofa. Steal all the money quietly. He quietly slipped out the door and ran away. But he had just run a few steps onto the street. He was stopped by a sheriff. This police chief was the one bribed by Villefort to investigate the Count of Monte Cristo. Ever since the last time he was spying and saw Catullus enter the Count's mansion, they followed the clues and found each other's residence. Spotting the familiar pickpockets emerging from Catullus' house, he immediately rushed forward excitedly and asked them what their conspiracy was.
What are you doing with Catullus? And why are you dressed like this, huh? Explain yourself, boy!
I'm going home!
You don't have a home.
The child panicked, seeing the sheriff find the money he had stolen. In a panic, he drew his knife and stabbed the sheriff.
What's going on down there?
Only then did he realize that he had gotten into big trouble. He immediately ran away without looking back. The next day, Edmund receives word that the thief has been arrested for murder. He was instantly shocked. He had only hoped the thief would be caught for theft, not murder. However, he soon realized that the police would definitely search Catullus' home under the pretext of investigating the case. In order to prevent the other party from finding out the clues, he quickly asked Jacob to handle the matter.
You must act quickly.
Sure enough, they had just finished dealing with the accommodation. Shortly afterwards, Villefort led police to raid Catullus' residence. But he found that the house was empty.
You sure this is his apartment? It was.
By this time, Catullus had been taken to Edmund's residence. To ensure his safety, Edmund decided to withdraw him from the next revenge plan. Arrange for him to live in New York. Before leaving, he gave Catullus a bag full of diamonds to help them fulfill their wishes. Catullus was so moved by this that tears welled up in his eyes. He quickly asked himself whether he had completed his atonement.
You've helped restore my faith in mankind. Not many have managed that. Write to me.
I hope when this is all over, you find peace, Edmund.
As do I.
And now we have said goodbye to an important ally. Edmund's revenge plan has also reached the final stage. Danglars here has received the hint from the Count of Monte Cristo. He began to secretly investigate the scandal of Fernand betraying Ali Pasha. Really, after confirming with Algiers' insider, he obtained damning evidence that would bring down Fernand's reputation. Danglars was as cold and ruthless as ever. Without the slightest hesitation, he promptly submitted this shameful chapter of history to the newspaper. The news editing department worked overtime overnight and processed it quickly. This explosive news was like dropping a bombshell. It spread quickly throughout the streets of Paris. The next morning, Fernand's son Albert read the news in the newspaper. He suddenly became furious. He couldn't believe that his father had ever done such a thing as betraying his country for personal gain. So he rushed to the newspaper office angrily. He confronted Editor-in-Chief Beecham and questioned him directly. Request for immediate publication of a clarification statement. However, a whole day passed. Not only did I not wait for any clarification. Instead, he was told that the allegations had been confirmed by multiple parties.
Sufficient to go to press, I'm afraid.
It was discovered that the whistleblower was Danglars. So he stormed into Danglars' house angrily. He was questioned face to face as to why he humiliated his father in such a way. Unexpectedly, Danglars denied responsibility on the spot. He shamelessly passed the blame to the Count of Monte Cristo.
I was forced to do it. How? Well, perhaps not forced, but I was coerced into doing it. To protect my own name, you see.
By who?
By your friend and my client, the Count of Monte Cristo.
Albert couldn't believe what he heard. Why the person he respected the most, trusted the most, and who had saved his life? Want to destroy their family's reputation with your own hands? However, the cruelty of the truth is beyond imagination. As newspapers continue to publish subsequent revelations, scandals about Fernand's betrayal continue to surface. It eventually attracted the attention of the royal family. Demand that he stand trial in public in the Senate. The Count of Monte Cristo also appeared as an observer. In full view of the public. Senate colleagues confronted Fernand with the newspaper. Did he really betray Ali Pasha? He personally opened the fortress gate to invite the enemy to invade. In exchange for half of the other party's property. Faced with this accusation, Fernand responded forcefully.
They are lying! This story has been concocted by someone who clearly has a personal vendetta against me.
Can you prove it, sir?
I don't have to. My reputation speaks for itself. My reputation!
I didn't expect Fernand to be so stubborn. He publicly insisted that everything was a malicious fabrication. He even demanded that the newspaper and the Senate apologize to him for this. And when colleagues further questioned, why did he suddenly become rich after returning from Ali Pasha's camp? Fernand even shamelessly dragged Danglars into the water. Claims that his wealth comes from investing in stocks with him. Because the two of them have something on each other. Fernand is convinced that Danglars will perjure himself to exonerate him. It seemed that he was about to get away with it. An unexpected witness shows up. Ali Pasha's biological daughter, Haiti. In front of all the senators. She herself told the story of how her father was betrayed and tragically killed by Fernand. The whole process of Fernand selling himself as a slave to a mere sultan. There was an uproar at the scene. The judge had to shout, "Silence," loudly. Only then was he able to suppress the anger of the crowd.
Do you have documents in your hand?
This is a receipt of that sale. As you can see, it is signed by Fernand Mondego.
Count Emotif, is that your signature?
Faced with such irrefutable evidence, Fernand was no longer able to argue. With profound reluctance, he publicly admitted to the signature.
My signature.
So he was dismissed on the spot. And kicked out of the Senate. What awaits him next is the king's personal trial. Yet he showed no remorse at all. After walking out of the Senate, he angrily scolded Albert, who came to ask the truth. Scolding him for bringing the Count of Monte Cristo into their lives. He angrily ordered his son to kill the Count. At this time, Albert was filled with self-blame and guilt. He finally understood the real purpose of the Count of Monte Cristo approaching him. That night, he blocked Edmund at the opera house. Angry at the other party for betraying their trust. And publicly invite him to a duel. Edmund was prepared to decline out of consideration for his mother. He had no intention of accepting. Unexpectedly, Albert was blinded by anger. Throw the gloves out directly. He slapped the Earl in public. The slap represented a public insult. If you don't accept the challenge again, Edmund will completely lose his dignity. So Edmund picked up the gloves on the ground coldly.
Consider the challenge accepted. You choose the place and the weapons.
Pistols. Tomorrow at dawn. The western edge of Lucien Forest.
However, this matter soon reached the ears of Albert's mother Mercedes. To prevent Edmund from dueling with his son, she hurried to Edmund's house overnight. Finally, he was forced to meet his first love, Edmund. She thought Edmund was resentful. Because she betrayed her love and married Fernand. Therefore, She kept begging Edmund to spare her son. If you have any resentment or hatred, just direct it at yourself. But Edmund gave her a completely unexpected answer.
Do you know why I was arrested, Mercedes?
No one did.
Seeing that she was kept in the dark for so many years, Edmund took out the letter of complaint directly from the drawer.
Fernand delivered this to the police on the day of our engagement celebration. It was written by him and Danglars. My arrest lasted 15 years. And every day of those 15 years I renewed the vow of vengeance I made on the first day.
Mercedes was completely shocked. She finally understood where Edmund's immense hatred came from. She fell to her knees at his feet, begged desperately, "Don't hurt your son Albert." This made Edmund's heart waver and struggle. The obsession with revenge and the special feelings for old love are repeatedly intertwined. At last, after a long silence, he asked the question that concerned him most.
When did you realize it was me?
When I heard your voice, the day you came at my house. The voice never changes. At first, I denied it was you, but love speaks from the heart, not from the mind. I love you, Edmund. I always have.
Her words deeply touched Edmund. It was as if he had made some kind of decision. Edmund finally promised to let Albert go. But that doesn't mean he will cancel the duel.
But for that to happen, I must die.
What are you saying?
Because Albert humiliated him in front of all the upper class in Paris. If he backs out now, he will no longer be able to gain a foothold in the aristocratic social circle. He has spent 15 humiliating years in prison. It is impossible to accept losing dignity a second time. And this cruel choice was like a heavy hammer. It hit Mercedes hard in the heart. Whether it is Edmund or his son Albert, they are the people he cherishes and cares about most in this world. So after struggling hard, she turned around in pain and rushed out. The next morning, Edmund and Albert arrived at the duel location as scheduled. However, Albert unexpectedly gave up the duel and apologized to the Count of Monte Cristo in public.
Gentlemen, the Count has accepted my apology. I hope the word will not call me cowardly for acting as my conscience dictates.
He was not a coward. Instead, he had already learned from his mother about the evil deeds his father had done to Edmund. As a person who can distinguish right from wrong, Albert believed that the Count's punishment of his father was justified. And as the storm subsided, Edmund's revenge plan also ushered in the final chapter. Albert just returned home dejectedly. His father Fernand then asked him whether the Earl was dead. After learning that his son had voluntarily cancelled the duel, he was immediately furious. Keep asking Albert why he did this. But Albert had already lost hope. He turned and left in silence. Only Fernand was left in a rage. Fernand was instantly furious when he saw this. He turned around and went back to the study to take out his sword. Then he rushed to the Earl's mansion in anger. Asked him to give himself an explanation. Seeing him so righteous, Edmund finally thought it was time to help him recall the sins he had committed in the past. He stood up slowly. His expression was calm yet oppressive. Reveal all of Fernand's shameful past one by one. And under the other party's gaze, his pupils were shaking violently. He slowly took out the yellowed letter of complaint.
Take it, read it. Hopefully it jolt your memory. Given by you to the police on the day of my engagement celebration 20 years ago.
These words pierced Fernand's heart like a sword. His face was pale, trembling all over. Finally realized, the Count of Monte Cristo standing before him was none other than Edmund, the man he had personally framed years ago, whom he had believed long dead in prison. He learns that his wife Mercedes and son Albert already know the truth. Fernand completely collapsed. Shame and despair left him speechless. He could only stumble and escape from the Earl's mansion. However, this was not the biggest blow. When Fernand hurried back home, he saw suitcases of all sizes piled at the door. His wife and son were extremely disappointed in him. Not even a word of farewell. They left home coldly and abruptly. Fernand has been scheming all his life. He will do anything for fame, money, and women. In the end, he was deserted by everyone. The end result is nothing. Desperately, he pulled out a pistol from the drawer. He ended his sinful life with his own hands. At the same time, Edmund's revenge plan against his other two enemies is also nearing completion. The first person to come was the anxious Danglars. The large number of land options he purchased for the railway project are about to expire. However, the investment funds previously promised by the Count of Monte Cristo have not arrived yet. He anxiously begged the Count to transfer 5 million francs to the account first, to solve the urgent problem. But Edmund responded calmly. They had an agreement in advance. It had to wait until Danglars' daughter Eugenie was betrothed to Count Spada. He and Spada's funds will be available. Danglars heard this, panicked instantly. Because with Fernand's fall he has lost all his support in the government. If the 9 million francs required to purchase the land cannot be paid today, the government will take back the concession for railway development. And I have already staked all my worth on this project. If the investment fails, he will have nothing. Danglars became more and more excited as he spoke. Edmund quickly poured him a glass of water to calm him down. Then he began to brainwash him slowly and methodically. It means that this Thursday is Spada and Eugenie's engagement ceremony. As long as they successfully complete the engagement, Danglars would immediately receive 2 checks for 5 million francs each. The problem he was worried about didn't exist at all.
He's promised me he'll go through with it. And if you make a promise to me, you keep it. I do not take such things lightly.
No, I'm sure not. Good. Good, very good. Excellent. Well, thank you.
Hear the Earl's assurance. Danglars felt relieved. He was completely unaware that he had stepped into a carefully laid trap. At the same time, Spada quietly finds Eugenie, hand over a letter of recommendation written by the Count of Monte Cristo, and told her that the Rome Opera House had decided to accept her as a newcomer. Just be willing to keep the appointment. You will have the opportunity to display your talents in the art hall. For her who longs for the stage, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Eugenie was suddenly ecstatic. However, he immediately fell into a struggle. Because his father would never allow him to perform on stage.
Yeah, but if you're in Rome and he is here, how can he object?
Eugenie, who got the hint, was instantly enlightened. Then Spada reminded her mysteriously. If you haven't left by Thursday, then they can only meet at that so-called engagement ceremony. Finally, leaving a meaningful smile. He then left humming a little tune. With Spada's encouragement, plus a letter of recommendation from the Count of Monte Cristo, Eugenie is full of confidence in the future. She finally made up her mind. Went to Rome with the music teacher, chasing her artistic dream. Soon it was time for the engagement ceremony on Thursday. The thought of the 2 long-awaited huge checks is now within reach. Danglars couldn't wait a moment. He couldn't wait to announce to the guests that the engagement ceremony had officially begun. Then Spada was invited to sign the engagement contract. However, an embarrassing scene happened.
But where is Mademoiselle Danglars?
She should be here, no?
Only then did he realize that his daughter was not at the engagement ceremony at all. He quickly asked his wife Hermine to urge their daughter to come out. Unexpectedly, all the guests stood outside stupidly for a long time. No sound was heard from the bride-to-be. Danglars, unable to bear it any longer, had no choice but to break into the game. Only then did he realize that his daughter had disappeared from the room. What made them even more devastated was, at this time, the secretary of the Minister of the Interior came to Hermine in a panic. Tell him that the police have discovered their tricks in the stock market. He demanded his share of the last deal immediately. Then he ran away before the police caught him. Hermine didn't dare to delay for a moment after hearing this. He rushed upstairs with a pale face to get the cash. But the moment you open the small treasury, she was stunned. Because the thick stack of banknotes in the box had disappeared. It turned out that their daughter ran away from home. He took all the cash in the house for travel expenses. He was just about to go downstairs to announce the sad news. A group of police suddenly rushed in again. They had 3 arrest warrants in their hands. It was to arrest the Danglars couple and the secretary of the Minister of the Interior.
Get out of my house! Not without you and your accomplices, Baron. You have been charged with a very serious offense.
Charged with what?
Illegal trading, sir, on the stock exchange using confidential government information.
Hearing that his illegal activities have been exposed, Danglars instantly lost all his strength and means. He could only watch his wife being forcibly taken away by the police amid cursing. He could only bow his head and accept his fate. Just surrender obediently. The police were able to respond quickly. Catch him in one fell swoop. The real driving force behind this is the Count of Monte Cristo. The key evidence that revealed Danglars' inside story. It was after Edmund secretly collected and sorted it out for several months. The irrefutable evidence was delivered to the police personally. Finally it was the turn of Prosecutor Villefort. This day, Edmund personally visited him at the procuratorate, and brought news that was enough to destroy his family. That is, there might be someone else who poisoned his ex-mother-in-law.
When you last supped at my house in the country, your wife left the table in between courses, do you recall?
Vaguely.
To help Villefort restore the truth, Edmund patiently recounted the details of the dinner that day. Haiti saw Villefort's wife leave the table in the middle of the meal on the pretext of something, sneaking into Edmund's chemistry lab. And just after the banquet ended, Edmund discovered that a bottle of poison was missing from the laboratory.
The one containing brucine.
Villefort's head exploded when he heard this. He instantly realized that he had wronged his daughter. In order to find out the truth, he hurried home with a gloomy face. At first glance, he saw his wife's happy and proud face. There is no preparation, Villefort asked directly. She was seen taking poison from the chemistry lab. The wife's expression changed suddenly when she heard this. Standing there in a daze, unable to speak for a long time, finally, she abandoned all pretense. Ask him how he plans to deal with this matter. This prosecutor was once known for his impartiality. He only gave her an answer that made her completely despair.
Same as I did with Valentine. I'm going to report what I know to the relevant authority.
After saying that, he turned and left without looking back. He left his wife begging behind him. No response. The reason why he was in such a hurry. Because there was an important case to be heard in court that day. However, he never expected this at this moment. This case will completely discredit him. Because the boy standing in the dock was his illegitimate son whom he had buried with his own hands. As the trial entered its final stages, to seek a lighter sentence for the teenager suspected of murder, the deputy presiding judge proposed calling a key witness. He routinely asked the prosecutor if he agreed.
The prosecution has no objection, your lordship.
Very well.
But the moment he heard the witness's name, Villefort's face froze. That name. He was very familiar with it. It was the midwife who witnessed him burying his illegitimate child 16 years ago. To ensure that Villefort's crimes are exposed as soon as possible, Edmund had already invited the newspaper's editor-in-chief, Beecham, to attend as an observer. Under the gaze of the whole audience, the midwife identified Villefort as the boy's biological father in court. There was an uproar at the scene. Villefort was furious. Suddenly he slammed the table and stood up.
This is nonsense. The prosecution objects to this witness.
I believe we can allow it, Monsieur Villefort, considering it explains something about the...
No, this is nothing to do with the murder of Inspector Boville, sir.
Will you please sit down, Monsieur Villefort?
Now, Villefort was filled with remorse. He should have refused to allow this witness to appear in court. But it was too late. He could only sit down dejectedly, like a broken body nailed to a rack of shame. Let the other party uncover the past that he is most reluctant to face. The midwife recalled. After she was paid and sent away that night, a vague unease settled in her heart, so she quietly slipped into the garden. Then he saw Villefort burying a box in the ground. She dug out the box. They found a crying baby boy inside. It was the boy who now stood in the dock.
Silence! Or I will have you expelled.
Monsieur Villefort, are you aware that the accused is your son?
Villefort never imagined that he and his illegitimate son would meet in such a cruel and ironic way. He was speechless to defend himself. He just said it in a self-deprecating way.
No one is above the law. Including myself. I'm withdrawing from this case.
He simply left the procuratorate in dejection. This prosecutor, who represented justice and judicial authority, was disgraced from then on. Became the laughing stock of Parisian society. However, the blow he suffered was far from over. When Villefort hurried back home, he discovered to his horror that his wife and young son had poisoned themselves. He never imagined his wife, knowing her crimes exposed, could be so ruthless. She had taken away the son Villefort cherished most. And Villefort's last remaining relative. That is Valentine, who was cleared of all charges and released from prison. She too saw through her father's cold-heartedness. Choose to run away with the boy you love. So far, Edmund's long and arduous road to revenge finally came to an end. He called uncle and nephew Jacopo to the study. We sincerely thank them for their continued support. Then, He placed all his Parisian properties under the management of Jacopo. Whether to sell or continue operating. I don't need it anymore. Because his life will start anew. Start a long journey. But he promised to send a large sum of money every year.
Oh, when you send the money, send a little letter with it. Let me know what you're up to. When I get home, I'm going to learn how to read and write.
I will.
After Danglars was arrested and imprisoned, a letter was quietly delivered to his cell. Ripples suddenly appeared in his heart. With trembling hands, he tore open the envelope. The paper is slightly yellow and the ink is clean and neat. As the content comes into view line by line, Danglars laughed coldly. That was what he and Fernand wrote together in their youth. The anonymous letter accusing Edmund of treason. He could hardly believe it. This letter still exists in the world.
Dear Baron Danglars, you might be surprised to learn that my real name is Edmond Dantes. The other letter enclosed, which you wrote with the help of Fernand Mondego, which he then had delivered to Monsieur Villefort, caused me to spend 15 years of great suffering in the dungeons of the Castle d'If. The same amount of time I believe you will spend in the forced prison for crimes you actually committed. Unlike mine, which were entirely fabricated. I wish you a miserable stay there. Yours sincerely,
The Count of Monte Cristo. You bastard. You damn bastard.
And the end of the story. Edmund returns to his hometown of Marseille, and found Mercedes on the cliff edge. Looking from this position, it was the Château d'If prison where he was forced to do hard labor for 15 years. This moment, he looked back at the cage that had brought him countless humiliations and sufferings. Edmund's heart was extremely calm. The soul that was once trapped by revenge and struggling. Now I have finally emerged from the haze of hatred. Reborn again.
Love can heal.